All right. Hi, guys. I'm going to give people a little bit to log on just because I decided to make today's Q&A public. So Maria's here. If you guys can hear me, see me okay, just drop that in a live chat on the side. Just let me know if there's any issues throughout the call. Just let me know that as well. I wanted to open up today's call because spring is here finally. A lot of us are transitioning in and out of race season and stuff, and I kind of wanted to just let the audience kind of see a little bit into what the Q&As are like, since my Patreon people obviously know, especially that specific tier that's been with me for a while. And for those who don't, this is a good look at what we covered during the Q&As. So if you're just joining us, I'm glad you guys are here. Anything you want to know related to fitness, running, motivation, anything like that, please drop that in the chat on the side. I'm going to get to as many questions as I can today. And I also have pre-prepared topics as well. Rosalie is in there. Maria is in there. If you guys, Karen's in there. Awesome. I'm glad we can do this at this time too. I wanted to catch you guys towards the end of the day, after the workday and stuff, and hopefully kind of wind down with you and get you guys kind of motivated for the next season of training. Awesome. Glad everyone is getting in there fine and you can hear me okay. So I'm going to start with a topic I already prepared based on what somebody has asked me earlier in the week, and then we will go into live questions. You guys just ask me and I will hit them as fast as I can. First things first, I wanted to talk about downhill running a little bit. I posted a video last week on uphill running and gave you guys some of my starter hill workouts that I like. Downhill running is something I haven't covered yet on the channel, but I wanted to give you guys a couple of just preliminary tips and things to think about just in your next run when you are going downhill. Now, I'll specifically talk about trails because that can be when it gets very tricky and steep. Two big things to think about when you're downhill running. Number one, pick up your feet quickly. This gives you more room to correct in a more comfortable time. If you land for too long and wait to catch your balance with every step, you'll find yourself tripping more and you won't be able to adjust as quickly and be as light on your feet. When I take more quick steps going downhill when I'm running, especially on trails, I can jump out of the way of a branch or a tree root or a rock or something much quicker without fully landing my weight on there. It also allows, when you do hit something and potentially start to roll, if you can land again quickly on the other foot, you can take that one off. So you don't get as much weight onto that roll or that fall. The other thing you can do with the downhill running is lean into your stride a little bit more and lengthen the stride. And what that allows you to do is come over top of the landing foot with all of your weight. And if you're coming down that decline, you want to keep matching where your feet are with those hips and shoulders. It's very instinctive to kind of lean away and not want to be over top of your feet because it feels like you're falling, but going into that fall a little bit more will actually help correct where you're going. So that's a couple tips on the downhill. Again, if you guys are joining us, welcome to the live chat this evening. We've got 30 minutes together. I will be answering anything you guys want to know, giving you some tips and advice. And then I've got some things prepared as well. So Rosalie asked, I'm still sore from leg day, which was 3 days ago. Do I still run? Short answer is, and is it normal to be this sore? I'm slowly squatting to sit. That is really sore. I will say that soreness versus injury, good thing to differentiate between, because you know that you're sore from a workout. I personally like a run on sore legs, even if it's short. That helps flush out, get a little extra blood flow to the area and help you repair a bit faster. It also just honestly makes it all move through you a bit quicker. When I'm stiff and not moving when I'm really sore, I find that it takes me days and days to kind of recover and come back. So you're totally fine to work out and go run. Maybe make it a little bit shorter than you normally would. And if you're feeling good a few minutes into it, pick up that pace or extend the run if you want to. But soreness is a good thing. Makes us stronger, more resilient. If we're running on sore legs, that's a good mirror of the picture that would happen towards the end of a race. We're obviously not going to be fresh at the end of a race. So good question. If you guys are joining us, drop anything you want to know in that chat. The next thing I wanted to tell you guys about, just a little insight. My 50 miler is this Saturday. So I wanted to tell you guys just a little bit of my mindset, how I'm feeling. I actually filmed a video for you guys today that I'm going to post hopefully tomorrow about my taper week and what it looks like, because I know a lot of us get very antsy during taper week, including myself. So I gave you kind of my tips and ways to build it out so that it doesn't feel like you're taking that much of a break. You kind of trick your mind into still having tasks and things leading up to the race, but it's not obviously at the same volume, and you find yourself being much more prepared physically for that race day. So my mental state right now is very good. I did find out today the race is really, really small. So 22 of us are running the 50 miler, which makes me a little bit more nervous for some reason. I'm kind of like, I don't want to finish last. I don't know why I would care about that, but it's a lot more obvious who all's running. So there's a lot more eyes on you, but I am excited to do this distance. I've done 50 miles twice before, and I have my next 100 in October. So I wanted to do something long, kind of right before summer, that makes me feel confident and stuff going into the hot months of training, because I know it's going to be tough getting out there for distance in the heat. And I'm still going to do it, obviously, but I wanted to have just a little confidence boost before. So I'm feeling good. I've been training well, and I am, in a good headspace, just trying to get so much sleep this week, as much as I can. Trying to eat well, not restrict calories, go off of how I'm feeling, and, take it one day at a time. So I'll start packing for that tomorrow, and then I fly at the end of the week. So excited for that. Let's cover some questions. Okay. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Nitin. Good morning from India. I'm watching your videos. I have an unbalanced leg, right leg, normally more sore than left after a long run. What needs to be done? With uneven soreness one side to the next, a good place to look under the hood, I like to say, is during strength work. So during a run, you might not see where the discrepancy is unless you want to film yourself and kind of see if maybe you're landing odd on one leg versus the other, or sinking more into one hip than the other. Strength is a really good place to look, though. Single leg Bulgarian split squats, take that back leg up on the surface behind you on the bench, doing full squat depth on that single leg, doing some hop single leg laterally forward and back, doing some jumps for height, seeing on both legs, maybe some high skips, is one going higher than the other. Try to test the strength on both. And if that feels pretty even, then it's probably an alignment issue, which might be a result of how you're spending most of your day. So if you're sitting weird, I know a lot of people who drive for their job end up leaning to one side for hours at a time, and it almost shortens one side, tilts their hips a bit, and then you start creating all kinds of compensations as a result. If you sit a lot, also, we have those tight hips, leads to shortening of the adductors and sinking kind of in those knees. We see a lot of like ankle problems with that as well, but it all is a big chain that works together. So might feel like one leg is more sore than the other, maybe something's wrong with one leg, but it's probably that one is working harder than the other. So definitely look in the single leg strength department. Otherwise, I would film yourself, slow it down on the video, and see what's going on. Cool. Other questions, guys, you can just drop in here. Let's go to David. Says, I was 206 pounds, blood pressure of 106/98. Oh, this is so nice. You changed my life over the last 2 years. I couldn't do a quarter mile. Keep going. Thanks. I'm a whole new person, better father. That literally makes me want to cry. Thank you. I know some of you guys have been with me since Run Experience. So it's been a really long time on YouTube for me, almost 7 years now, I think. Gosh, maybe longer than that. But yeah, it's been a journey. I've learned a lot about running, a lot about coaching. Still growing, of course. Okay. Justin says, hey, from LA, what are some good core exercises to help with running stability? I have actually gotten a lot of this recently, and I'm thinking it's because we're getting into summer. Some people also just focus more on the core around that time. So one of the best things for your running core work should be functional. The reason traditional crunches and bicycles and stuff like that, they're good to engage the core. They're not great to translate to running. So you're better off doing a lot of static holds or really small micro movements within a static hold. I really like a plank hold with tiny 1-inch shifts, either over the hands or over the elbows. I love anything on a medicine ball, kind of creating that instability and having to force yourself to find that balanced position down the middle. I love a good V-up or tuck hold. I also love sitting almost like you're in a beach chair and just doing tiny little arms reaching back while you're leaned back a little bit. You can do that on a bench or on the ground. So you can get the gist, though. I'm creating little tiny movements within a structured hold. And then the nice thing about all of that kind of feeling when you're doing that kind of core work is that you bring it up to your running. You can actually feel that tiny engagement when you're running. It's easier to feel when things are turned on or not. So I think if you're not familiar with a lot of core work, that stuff can feel very hard. I would introduce it in small increments, 20 seconds of work at a time, maybe 20 seconds off, keep it even, do a few rounds of that, stick to like 2 to 3 movements and tack it onto a strength workout you're already doing. And then maybe that a couple times a week, and then you can build from there. It's very easy to overdo it on core work. You guys have probably heard, in the CrossFit world and stuff, rhabdo, people do a billion of those GHD sit-ups and kind of just rupture a bunch of I don't know if it's the blood vessels or what exactly tears. Basically blood gets in there and you end up being really messed up in your kidneys. So we don't want that, obviously, but I want you guys to focus on core work in small chunks in the beginning and then do stuff that you're going to be able to apply to when you stand up. Another great place to practice functional core strength and engagement is literally in the grocery store line. Drawing the belly button in slightly, almost like you're holding your pee. Practice that for little bits of time, and then you're going to feel more comfortable engaged than not engaged. As a former ballet dancer, I trained myself to know that feeling should be more comfortable than it being turned off. Obviously not when you're on the couch sleeping, etc. But when you're up and moving, you should be at least aware of where your core is. Hopefully that sort of helps. I will also make a note to do more core videos on the channel. Okay. Sarah asked, favorite books on running. I've loved listening to audiobooks on my long runs. Love your content. You guys know that my favorite guy to listen to when I'm running is David Goggins. So obviously his books for sure. I really have been enjoying Cam Hanes' book, Endure. If you haven't read that yet, he has so much good stuff in there. There is stuff related to running. He's also a bow hunter, but Endure is more his sports side of things. So it's not really the hunting stuff as much. I've loved it. And I feel like it's a very good, applicable story. He has a really crazy childhood, and just knowing what he's accomplished. I think he ran Moab 240, whatever. He's a freak, either that or the Tahoe 200. And he's right up there in the group with all the ultra runners, but he's more of an average person who does that kind of stuff. So highly recommend that. I did read Born to Run. I'm sure you've already read that if you've already listened to some good books on running. Interesting story. I find that people, I can also kind of like see them run currently and like are a little bit more in the social media space. It's a little bit more interesting to me because I kind of watch them do it. I think she's Candace, what is her last name? She's Yellow Runner on Instagram. Is that her name? I'm not sure, but she's coming out with a book and that will be really good if it's not already out. So I'm excited about that one too. Okay, guys, keep the questions coming. I'm going to hit a topic that I already had on the list from someone earlier. So I'm just going to hit that now. Actually, someone asked, how often should you be doing core work? And I covered it just now. I just said that you should do it, start with a couple times a week in small increments. But at the very, very least, guys, once a week, a structured core routine that really leaves you burnt out by the end of it. This could really be as short as 10 minutes, but really back-to-back stuff is super important. It's very easy to lose core strength. The first place you're going to notice is in your low back, probably, if you really neglect it. So when your back starts to hurt, even upper back, holding yourself upright, definitely going to be an indicator that the core is lacking strength. So at least once a week, try to up it a little bit more and sprinkle it up throughout. Okay, perfect. Let's keep going here. So Justin asked, what are your favorite speed workouts? I want to see if I can transfer them to the ice for hockey. Good question. Basic speed workout, if you want to do something unstructured, would be a fartlek workout. So if you're in a neighborhood, this is very easy, picking different points along the way to run quickly to and then ease out. Strides are awesome for speed work, especially on the track. I like doing strides. Basically, if you've never done them before, a lot of people do them as a warm-up. You start at your slowest speed and build by the end of 20, 30 seconds. You're at your top speed, and then you slow it down into that walk. And then you basically recover for a few breaths, maybe up to a minute, and then you go again, and you keep working on that build of the speed. The really nice thing about strides is it forces you to hit also your top form at your top speed. So it's a nice translator from your slowest, little jog, kind of marathon shuffle, all the way up to your top opened up sprint. So you can do those for sure, fartlek. And then if you guys like pyramid style workouts, this is a great way to practice running for different small periods of time at different speeds, working up the ladder and down. So there's, maybe 200 meters to 400 to 800, maybe straight up to that mile and then coming back down, and you can manipulate the speeds that you do them at. I write all kinds of speed workouts for my clients at the moment, and I try to mix it up for them. A lot of people don't enjoy tempo work in the way of you're going to do 1 mile warm up, 3 miles at race pace, 1 mile cool down, because it's not very interesting. And it is kind of just forcing you to grind through what it's going to be like to push on mid race. But I find that a lot of your speed work can translate even if it's in short bursts. If you can practice breathing even up to 3 minutes at what would I call 8 out of 10 effort, that's a really good place to be aerobically and knowing where to go when you're pushing that hard. So it's all about our modes, all about our gears. I tell you guys this a lot, but the more you know yourself and when you can dial up and down, I was talking about this today with somebody, don't feel like it's just full blown run or full blown walk. We all have modes, even the most beginner in here does. So it's not something that you have to, consider yourself as a specific type of runner in order to do speed work. Everyone can go 5 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 10 out of 10. So just make that for yourself and spend 1 minute here, 3 minutes there, kind of back and forth in that way. Do the pyramids, like I said. Or if you want to just go for it, maybe do a couple mile repeats and just push yourself as hard as you can. Maybe start with 3 mile repeats, 5-minute rest in between. You can walk or completely rest. Hopefully that is a good starting point. Okay, guys. Again, if you are coming in, oh, good. We found out yellow runner is Sally. That's right. Candace is the one doing, I think, the streak right now of the ultra runners or the ultra runs. She's doing 50K every day. I don't know what day she's on. I get them all mixed up, but anyway, badass people all over the place. It's awesome. It almost makes me feel like the 100-miler I'm doing won't even be a big deal now that everyone's running crazy distances. I don't really mean that, but it's pretty crazy. Okay, guys, keep the questions coming here. Let's go to this one. I started a kettlebell training in November. Right now I have this flare up in my left calf and back of my left knee. It's like a heat that comes and goes. I've gone to the chiropractor. Calf and back of knee, I'm almost thinking that maybe anything you're doing with the kettlebell and or with running, you might not be letting your left heel touch the ground. This could go back to something we talked about earlier in the talk today. Discrepancy with the hips potentially could almost be creating a difference in length with the legs, kind of that sinking feeling, or if you're sinking to this side, that left is being pulled up a little bit. You're not ever really getting even weight across both feet, especially in the heels. I would practice with the kettlebells, just some really heavy basic squats, maybe even putting your heels up on a plate to elevate a little bit, and then just sinking down nice and low into the squat, getting comfortable and even weight on both heels. Otherwise, you might have just strained it and it's continuing to just feel aggravated, but I'm not entirely sure. I'd probably go see more of a sports med doctor, especially with the heat. That almost makes me think there's some, not just inflammation, but maybe a problem there. So I would get it checked out. But sorry to hear that. Hopefully it clears up. Okay. I'm struggling. Catalina says, I'm struggling on finding my pace. I feel like I'm always out of breath. Any advice? Yes. Slow down. Slow way down. And this might mean, depending on where you're starting from, you might not be running at all right now, which is 100% okay. It's all part of the journey that we're trying to get to, which is feeling confident at any speed run, relative to our athletic ability at the time. So right now, if it feels like any sort of run, no matter what the speed, is making you really out of breath, even after just a few minutes, I would definitely incorporate a bunch of walking. Start almost too easy and then build from there. It's a lot better for the confidence and continuing on to show up day after day if you're doing things that almost feel too easy that then you add on to versus the other way around. Same way, if you've never worked out before, I wouldn't say to put it on your calendar, you're going to do it 6 days a week. I would start with 2. And when that's happening very easily, say, okay, I'm adding a third, I'm adding a fourth. With the walking, again, we have different speeds of walking. So it's not just like, I'm a beginner runner and I can't run yet, so I have to walk. You can walk at a really quick speed. I actually just got back from a very long walk with the dog and we were huffing. We were really pushing it. If you want to add some hill work in too, an incline walk on the treadmill, anything that's going to be a reasonable medium level for you to get minutes on your feet in, that's what we're looking for. So, You don't need to be pushing it at a certain speed for it to count. That was a big misconception I had when I started running. I thought any run I took a break in, any run I took a walk break in did not count at all. Literally in my mind, I just didn't let it count, which is so stupid. I think we all need to just have a little bit of grace with starting anything, and also just remember that the baseline and that medium, being out of breath a little bit, but enough, in control that we can keep going for 20, 30 minutes at a time. That's what we need. So whatever you need to do, whether that's walk, run alternated, or if that's just a fast walk, or if it's a slow walk, and then you build from there. But that's going to actually set you up to build and be more and more fit to be able to take that speed up and eventually to the run. Hopefully that helps. Oh, Jackie's here. Holly, best running coach ever. That's so nice. Okay, guys. Favorite brand for electrolyte help during runs, especially now that it's getting hot? Definitely Element. I'm obsessed with this. It's LMNT. I love the raspberry salt flavor, the orange salt flavor. I think there's a citrus lime or just citrus, one of those. Those are all really good. It's really salty. I will warn you if you haven't had it. It's very, very salty, but it's awesome. And it just is better for you ingredients wise and lower sugar than liquid IV or something like that. I know the Noon tablets are very popular as well. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't love the taste of it, but I'm not super picky. I will get anything down if I know it's helping me. So I love the Element ones. Check those out. They're on Amazon. I think they come in 30 packs, or you can get like a sample pack. I would absolutely die if they worked with me. That would be really cool. So fingers crossed on that. Hopefully I can get you guys a discount code eventually. But yeah, I've been using it for about, I want to say a year now, and I've really enjoyed the results from it. So, okay, guys, tip on improving cadence. This comes down, again, to practicing in increments you can control and feel good in. When we go out for a run and we're like, today I'm going to work on breathing, or today I'm going to work on cadence the whole time, it's very overwhelming. So setting the metronome on your phone and saying, I'm going to hit 180 today, and I'm just going to stay with it as much as I can and hope that this is a good run. That is just not really how we train ourselves to run in new ways. Implementing something takes practice in small bits, and we don't want to kill our whole run by thinking so hard the whole time. So with cadence, what you could do is if you're going out for a 30-minute run, I would say every 10 minutes, practice for 1 minute, doing good, strong pickup on the right for 30 seconds, big, strong pickup on the left for 30 seconds, and if you wanted to do another 30 seconds of just picking both feet up together right under you. There's so many obviously form things I've talked about on the channel, making it small, quick, and efficient, and then letting that bleed into the rest of your running just on its own. You will start to feel what your body has to do to create those small, quick steps. Hips have to be forward, shoulders have to be relaxed. You have to have that big arm swing backwards, and you have to breathe. When we start running in different ways and trying new things out, it does add some intensity to our running. So especially if we're not used to it, it might be a little overwhelming. So like I said, just like the core stuff, small little bits, introduce it frequently, and then let it all kind of translate to your running. It will happen. I can do a cadence video for you guys. Most recently, I did that 5 hacks for new runners, I think it was. And in that, we talked a little bit about our foot strike and how to land. So think of doing that exact form in just smaller, quicker ways to start in little bits throughout your run. Hopefully that helps. Okay. All right. Longtime fan. Thank you. How can I loosen Achilles tendon? Lots of knot, feels like sandpaper. Achilles tendon is so connected to your calf. I had Achilles tendonitis for close to, I want to say between 6 and 8 years when I was dancing. It was really bad. I just got used to having a really messed up left Achilles. The biggest change I ever noticed was when I was regularly doing static stretches for my calves off of a step. So I would stretch my calf, leave the heel off 2 minutes at a time anytime I did the stretch, and I did it daily. That was the biggest release I felt in that. Oftentimes, if we're jumping, running, mixing up into speed work, hill stuff, all that, our calves are working in different ways and our Achilles are just lower than that, right? So it's all connected. Mix that with tight bottoms of our feet. We might see some plantar fasciitis in there and stuff like that, but it's all connected up the back. So the biggest strategy there is regular static stretching for the calves at least 3 times a week, 2 minutes per side. Start with that. Get it looked at if you want to. I did a million times. Ultimately, we just determined it was Achilles tendonitis. So some heat therapy, cold therapy, back and forth work to get me through performances. But ultimately, I really found I just had to kind of create more length in my calves. So I have really tight ones to begin with. So I just always have to keep working on that. But consistency is key with any of this stuff, especially if we're going to always be asking our bodies to run and push and do all of that over and over. We have to take care of them. Good question. All right. I think I had one more. Tips for foot strikes somebody asked about. I kind of just covered that, so I will leave that. And then I wanted to share with you guys a couple health little products I've been using right now in the mornings, and they just make me feel good. And I don't really know if they're truly benefiting me. You know, I get my blood work done about once a year, and everything has looked good. But I'm curious after a full year of using these products specifically to see if anything changes. Every morning I do a greens powder, and this is more, I travel quite a bit and I just want to make sure I have something to get fruits and veggies in some capacity, even if it's not the same as eating them in real foods. It's something good to have, and I like the ingredients. It's literally just a bunch of crushed up vegetable root. There's turmeric and all kinds of stuff in there as well, and it just feels good to drink and it tastes good. So I use the Bloom one in the original flavor. I just do that in water. I do chlorophyll drops in water, in like a small cup of water. They just honestly taste good. I've looked up some things with chlorophyll. There's some evidence that it does something. I don't know. I just was kind of in like the health nut mood and got it. And I've just been doing that every day. If you guys do that, let me know if you have noticed any results. What else? I take magnesium and I take fish oil every single morning. The fish oil, I swear, I think this is the only change I've made that would have made a difference. My hip pain that I've struggled with for a while has really drastically gone down. And I have been working out very hard and running very hard. And I feel like it's got to be due to that. I don't know, maybe the magnesium as well. But if you guys take any of that stuff that I just mentioned, let me know. I've never been a supplement person really who's ever done anything besides whole foods and water and electrolytes, but I just like having a little health routine, and I honestly feel like it kind of gets my morning started, and I've been enjoying it. So I can link all that stuff for you guys so you have it, but it's the Bloom Nutrition Greens. You can get that at Target now. The two supplements, the magnesium and fish oil, I get from JS Health. And then the chlorophyll, I got at Erewhon, but that's just because I wanted to see what was up with Erewhon in LA. If you guys have heard, it's like the most expensive health store. And it was fun going in there. So let me hit a few other questions before we finish up here today, guys. Thank you again so much for watching. This has been so nice. Maria says, I noticed on the past couple of runs, my heart rate was lower when I listened to podcasts instead of music. Is there a correlation between heart rate and what you're listening to? That's a really good question. I definitely think I noticed that with myself as well. I'd be curious to know what your speed is relative between podcasts and music. I think I run a little bit slower with podcasts. I'm like truly listening and trying to understand them, so I don't feel like I'm pushing as much. And I think with music, you really respond to the tempo, the cadence of the music, and the intensity of it. So you might almost get a little bit of fartlek kind of style in there with music just based on what's coming up next. Whereas podcasts, it's much steadier. But that is a really good question. I do feel more calm listening to podcasts. And they're really good for long runs. Something shorter, I usually like a more high intensity playlist with music, and then using that to kind of boost throughout the run. But I will look that up. That's a really good question. Okay, Michael, I'm going to do two more questions, guys. Michael asked, I've run 7 marathons, was training for 8th, and just couldn't get past 12 miles for a long run. Mentally and legs just hurt. Not sure what's going on. Every single person I know has had days that are not what they planned. This is so normal, and it might be an indicator that you just need to back off a little bit. This doesn't mean you're worse. It doesn't mean you're not going to have a good race, nothing like that. Sometimes, for whatever reason, it could be a variety of things. It might be the perfect combo of nutrition not matching up with what you already had in the tank versus, maybe you didn't get a lot of sleep that week. Maybe you're underhydrated, things like that, and the weather. All those things together, just mixed with maybe even stress you're going through in your life, can just make a run worse. The legs might be hurting, but then all of a sudden it gets you doubting yourself, which just feeds into the mind. And it's like a cancer that kind of just takes over. If you let it snowball into a bigger deal than it actually is, and you make it mean something that it doesn't necessarily mean, it just feels way worse, and it's totally unnecessary. So I have been there. I've definitely gone out for something I thought was going to be long and really good, and it wasn't. I've also had times where I planned perfectly and ate the right things and slept and all that, and it still didn't feel good, but it's just part of how it goes. We're not robots. We can't put everything in the ingredients and expect it to be the same every time. And I think it's why we love running and why we challenge ourselves to do it. If everything went exactly according to plan every time we ran, I think a lot of us would get bored with it and we wouldn't really continue to sign up for things or train for things. So no need to panic. I would just back off a little bit, and I would probably on your next one aim a little bit under. And then if you're feeling good, add on to it. So you don't have multiple runs in a row where you're feeling like you're not matching up. Sometimes our bodies are also fighting things that aren't full blown illnesses yet. Things are coming on or whatever, and we don't really know. And the body's working really hard, and we just might not realize how much energy is going to that. So normal. We've all been there, 100%. Last thing we are going to cover today, how to run in the heat, starting to heat up here in Arizona. Heat is a big one, guys. I did do a video on this. I think it was last summer, but the biggest piece of advice I can give you for heat, acknowledge the heat. Just because you're supposed to run a certain pace for a certain amount of time does not mean, once again, that you are invincible. Heat adds pressure to the situation, intensity to the situation. So I would say slow way down, especially in the first couple runs getting into that heat. Slow down and get your new measures for your new effort levels and kind of think in that way for a little bit, maybe even a couple of weeks. So not necessarily looking at the watch so much for pace. Think mentally, physically, where do I feel like I'm at? If I'm going for a long run, what's the closest pace to what I felt like effort, how much I'm giving, back in the winter. Hopefully that makes sense. So if you run it like a 6 out of 10 for your long run, what would be your 6 out of 10 now that it's 20 degrees warmer? Slow way down. Keep focused on your form, your breathing. Don't be an idiot. Bring all your nutrition and hydration, maybe even create a loop system so you stop back at your car to refill things. I've been stuck out there in the heat and twice a month for these Q&As to ask me anything. And I love giving you guys the advice. New video up this week, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.